And we're back. And it is cold. It's cold like the Minnesota Vikings at home. Have you ever heard that expression?
I heard it about 5 seconds ago for the first time.
Well, it's a terrible analogy because the Vikings play in a dome. So, but we are back. I hope that this is your first time joining us on Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. New season, new year, season 3.
Did you just say you hope this is your first time?
I hope this is your first time.
Why?
Get some new people in, some new listeners,
Okay.
right? So if it is,
thank you to all of those that have been listening for seasons 1 and 2. By the way,
and that's why Byron's on the podcast, right? Because he makes sure that we cover all our bases. If this is your first time, though, joining us,
hitting dingers over here.
I am your host, Noah Tucker. I handle a lot of the digital content here, such as our podcast, our social media channels, and my co-host is the CEO, executive director,
who does not handle any digital content.
My new slogan, Face of the Hall, the guy who makes the call, Byron Shive.
Oh, okay.
You like that?
A little rhyming, I like that.
Yeah. So yes, the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame here, our podcast, just some fun stuff that we do. Talk about what we've got going on at the hall. More so just talk about random stuff in general, right? It's a new year. It's a new year, a new season. So we're back, hopefully better than ever. Yeah. We've been off for a little bit for the holidays. Good holiday for you, I'm hoping.
Yes. It's one of those where it's always nice to have time with family and, maybe sleep in a little bit. But to be honest with you, this, I guess, is a sign I'm old, but I was actually excited to get back in the office just because there's so much to do and kind of want to just get back into that routine. So
no, I don't think that's a sign of being old. I kind of felt that too. I like to be in the schedule, of things and working towards, whatever it may be. We've always got different things coming up, but I realize that when I'm off too. It's not hard to relax, but at the same time, not having somewhere to be, not having something to get done, it kind of catches up to you after a few days, I feel like. So
I'm kind of tired of just putting things together. I mean, all the stuff the kids get have to be assembled.
Oh yeah.
So you got to put, my biggest thing is my son got a batting cage type netting deal.
Oh, sweet.
And it's going inside a big barn, but it's made for outdoors. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get stakes to stay, in bricks, and so it's not assembled yet.
I had a setup like that when I was probably his age as well. My dad, it wasn't a whole cage; it was just a net that he would set up in the garage.
And this isn't like a full; it's like 22 feet, so it's enough to have a little pitching machine thing at one end and get some cuts. But it's
many years.
It's not a one-man project, I bet, especially for my skill set.
I bet. Many winters spent in the garage hitting baseballs. I never broke anything. I don't know how that happened.
I guarantee you that he will break something on day one. But
That's funny. We're back though. It's a new year. We recently announced our 2024 class for Springfield Enshrinement. A lot of big names: Anthony Tolliver, Justin Britt out of Lebanon, Lucas Harrell out of Ozark. It's a class that we like. It's definitely a very good looking class. A lot of deserving area people, pro athletes, whatever may have you. We've even got some sports medicine people, all kinds of different things. That's coming up in February, and we are hitting the ground running with that right now.
It's kind of like NASCAR. NASCAR's Super Bowl is the first event of the year, the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it's been around here with the enshrinement's always the first event of the New Year's.
Yeah.
Technically, I guess we have a Hall of Fame Classic in between, but the first big event of the year is always been the Super Bowl. Now, that being said, of course, it's one of 4 enshrinements this year, but it's always been the bell cow, so to speak. So
absolutely, and it's formulated there February 4th. That is actually the Sunday between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl.
Used to be the last Sunday in January forever. And then when the NFL went to 17 games and moved to 18 weeks,
correct.
It kind of bumped everything back a week. So now it'll be the first Sunday in February.
Yeah, but that is widely known as one of the quietest days in the sports calendar.
Unless you're a flag football Pro Bowl fan.
Oh, yeah, I guess, man. Are you a fan of that? I don't think I've ever sat down and watched that.
I honestly don't remember the last time I watched the Pro Bowl. I bet I was a teenager.
Are they still... So you probably don't know the answer to this. I know they were doing dodgeball for a while.
Oh, I have no
I'm
idea.
probably more intrigued with that.
Like they used to go to Hawaii, Honolulu, and they would play an actual football game. It was obviously a joke, but but now I guess it's a flag. I don't know if they still go to Hawaii, but it's a flag football.
I don't think they do.
Okay.
I don't think they do because it's like you've been traveling for the last 8 months. Why do you want to travel now to Hawaii?
The point being is it's not busy. It's not very busy that day.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, a lot happened while we were gone. We had some time with family. We also had the inaugural Hall of Fame Staff Fantasy Football League playoffs.
We did.
You want to tell the people how that went down?
Well, let's just say that the morning chili dogs are the best.
Definitely one of the best names.
They were best before the fantasy league, and certainly during I'll just say shout out to Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that'll do it for you.
The funny thing is I was thinking back to, like, we basically put this league together last minute, and so I think you set up an online draft that it was like 1 minute in between picks. And if you remember, like when the draft started, I actually am calling you on the phone. I can't figure this out. How do I do? So for the first 2 or 3 rounds, which is when I picked, McCaffrey and some others, it's just funny. But
yeah. Well, so if you can't piece it together, Byron's team did win the inaugural season. I actually made the playoffs, lost in the semis. That's part of it. So,
I'm disappointed. Where's our cool trophy? We need to get like a traveling trophy or something.
You know what I would like more so than a trophy is a last place punishment. Yes. I don't know if you've seen those on social media.
Last?
Booyer maybe? Or no, I think it was Jack Pitts. I think it was Jack Pitts maybe that finished last. But I've seen all kinds of different ones. Like you have to sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours and every waffle
that's not
you
a
eat.
Punishment.
So what about like the milk mile where you have to chug a gallon of milk and run a mile? That would be a punishment. I've also seen guys have to get like a tattoo.
I've seen some that have to stand on the street corner with a big sign that says I stink at fantasy football or something like that.
Yeah. We'll have to come up with something like that and maybe a trophy. Who knows? We'll see if some of our partners can hook us up. Maybe I don't know how they'd feel about it, but
interesting.
Yeah. So we've got staff members in that league. We've also got some interns, former interns.
What was the rule?
The rule is if you made the playoff, you solidified a spot next year. Only one intern made the playoffs, so he's in next year. So we'll have a little bit of a turnover with some new interns.
Talking a lot of trash. That's who I beat in the championship.
Yeah. He had a good team as well. He did. It's fantasy is so much luck. It's so much luck, and I say that because obviously here I sit in third place, and I was just sulking my sorrows. But we got to play for something too. We got to stay on top of those. Those college kids are like, $10 for a league. I don't know if I can. That's like a week's worth of food.
It cracked me up this summer. Speaking of the interns, and I'm sure it's just the way I would have been in college as well. But we of course have expense reports. We pay mileage, and so if you run an errand and you get 6 miles on your car, we'll pay you for that. Yeah. The theory being is that you'll turn in a full expense sheet. These interns are getting back from an errand and turning in like $4.27, checks. I'm like, seriously, we're gonna.
Our accountant's like, you drove 6 miles. Maybe you need to wait and turn in another.
It's just, I can remember back in college, I probably would have done the same thing. So
yeah. Well, season 3 of the podcast, we're here. It's a new year for the podcast. It's a new year for the Hall of Fame. We've got a lot of big things coming in 24. Some changes, a little bit of different structure. What are you most excited for in 24?
I'm the most excited about the schedule. Like I've spent the last couple weeks. We were finalizing some things right before Christmas that we had to wait on before we could really go talk to some prospective, corporate sponsor renewals and new sponsors and whatnot. And just telling them about the changes with the schedule, with going to 4 enshrinements and having a regional luncheon and not having the luncheons here locally, but replacing it with an elite event and seeing their reaction. It kind of just kind of backs up how we've felt here as a staff that we think this is good. They agree. I mean, it's 100% support of the schedule and what we're doing. So that's been the coolest part for me so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of, some of those things that we're seeing shifting slightly has to do with the mission, the same mission that we're focused on, which is to broaden, to strengthen that that statewide footprint per se. where we're located here in Springfield in the southwest corridor of the state, but we want to have footing in all of those other little sections of the state as well.
Well, simply put, we want to be the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Yes, widely known.
Be the Sports Hall of Fame for the entire state. So in order to do that, we need to be in Kansas City and St. Louis and mid-Missouri on an annual basis, and that's the plan. So, but just seeing the reaction from corporate sponsors, they're just, I won't say blown away, but they're just very excited about the direction we're going and kind of the ideas. I mean, change is not always easy, and sometimes it's hard, and we got some big ideas, things happening this year, and knock on wood, hopefully they work, because we're taking some chances, but some very educated. I don't know if educated is the right word, but
been a lot of conversation, a lot of strong discussion about what the way to go is, and a lot of things that will be coming from that. Hopefully, you'll see as the year unfolds. We have a big event coming up in April. Actually, of course, before that, we have the February enshrinement, but a big event in April that we're all quite excited for. That's going to be a first of its kind event.
Well, and that's just it. We had the 5 luncheons, and so since we're getting rid of those, we wanted something to replace in terms of, to be blunt about it, financially. We don't want to lose this corporate support we were getting for luncheons, and so we wanted to create an event, a standalone single event that would replicate that revenue, but be an elite type of. And so we brainstormed and it went back. I don't know, there were some interesting suggestions, but ultimately we've decided to call this event the Champions Gala. The first one will be on April 4th here in Springfield at University Plaza. And the whole concept is that we want to bring in a VIP, somebody, big name, bring them into Springfield, have a special VIP meet and greet type of reception ahead of time, nice plated meal. Then a fun, exciting, something that's entertaining, program to go with it. And so that's the concept. And we're excited right before Christmas that we locked in that Peyton Manning is coming to Springfield, and you actually are hearing that.
Pause. Yes, you heard that right.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes, Peyton Manning is coming here. This is the first time we've publicly announced it. So if you're listening to the podcast, congratulations. We've not yet officially gone public to the masses. So, but we are very excited. That is obviously, people that listen to the podcast know that I was born and raised and grew up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I've had opportunity in this position to meet some famous people, and it's really cool, but I haven't really fanboyed, so to speak, on anybody, but Peyton Manning may do it. I mean, he's my favorite athlete of all time, and very, very excited. It's a huge name, not just from the NFL Hall of Famer perspective, but even what he's doing currently with the commercials and the Manning cast, and he just seems to be everywhere. And he basically crosses all age groups, genders. My wife knows who he is, so therefore that says a lot. So anyway, and I think we're very excited.
Yeah, we are, and I think it's because Manning is a strong fit for the idea of what we envisioned with that event, bringing in an exclusive, high level caliber person in the sports world like him, who is widely known for various reasons.
And then that's going back to what I was saying about meeting with some of the corporates and seeing their facial expressions when I mentioned to them that that's who we're bringing. Disbelief, excitement. I mean, it's they're very excited about it. So
absolutely. And in addition to our full calendar for the Hall of Fame, we have a calendar for the podcast that includes very exciting things. A lot of times
there as well.
Yeah, some big names there as well. A lot of times you will join us and it'll just be Byron and I just kind of, run of the mill talking about whatever comes to mind.
Morning chili dogs.
Yeah, but we do have some guests lined up. One guy that we have confirmed that we want to announce today is Tyler Hansbrough.
Psycho T.
Yeah, the Poplar Bluff product, who is obviously known for his heroics at UNC and then went on to the NBA. He was inducted in 2023 at our Springfield enshrinement. And so he will be joining us. It'll be a little ways down the road in March, right? Yeah, fitting for March Madness. So we'll talk to him about, basketball, the scope of things,
and he's
in
actually,
college.
he and another guy have a up. I mean, they have a pretty large podcast themselves.
Yeah,
That's kind of what he does now. So.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk to him about that as well, and maybe get some pointers from him. So
how not to be terrible.
But so stay tuned for stuff like that and more guests that we'll announce down the road. You can always join us for those down the road, and gosh, if you have a question for that person, maybe ahead of time, hey, feel free to let us know, and we'll bring it up if time permits it. We'll continue forward though with some sports news. We're kind of slowly creeping into that quiet time of the sports year, but there's still quite a bit going on. We've got the playoffs getting ready to start. That's very exciting in the NFL.
For some,
the Colts are out with a Week 18 loss there. That was tough. That was tough.
It was. I mean, it is what it is. They were not going to do anything in the playoffs. They played 75-80% of the year with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They didn't have their, all-world running back for a third of the season. So, still, it stings. You got a division rival at home, a beatable division rival at home. They miss an extra point. You're driving. You're on the 18-yard line, 4th and 1 minute to play. All you got to do is score, kick an extra point, and you're going to the playoffs. And then, as it turns out, the next day, Jacksonville loses. You're going to win the division. But I'm excited as a Colts fan, long suffering for the last several years. I'm excited about. I believe they've got their coach, and I believe they've got their quarterback, and we'll just see. But there was a lot of interesting things happening in the playoff matchups. I mean, would you really want to be Miami going to? I think it's supposed to be 2 degrees Saturday night at Arrowhead.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! I know a lot of people.
The wind chill is supposed to be sub-zero.
It'll be packed.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people were excited that game was on a Saturday.
Yeah, and it'll be. First of all, Miami's only beat one team with a winning record, so
it's true.
I honestly don't know that. I don't think Kansas City's going to have a whole lot of trouble. I know that Kansas City fans are kind of down on their different aspects, but you're in the playoffs, you're at home, and you got a team coming in a warm weather team coming in that hasn't beaten any good teams this year, really. So, and you've already beat them once. So I think that Kansas City rolls on Saturday night, but
yeah, we will see. We will see. Back on the Colts real quick. It was a tough way to go out. I mean, with JT on the sideline there on that play, and
a lot of Colts fans are on the coach. Like, how can you leave what kind of call you got?
Yeah.
I have no problem whatsoever with the call. It was wide open. I mean, the play was there. The problem is your backup quarterback had a terrible game, and your backup quarterback threw the ball behind the running back. I blame the quarterback. I would say 75% quarterback, bad throw, 25% you're an NFL running back, make the catch, but 100% it was a bad throw. But the call was wide open.
Yeah, yeah, and with all that being said, I think Minshew is quote unquote going to get paid. I think they are totally pleased with having him as a backup. Obviously, AR is still going to be the starter when he's back and healthy. But
we'll see. Minshew will get paid by somebody because he has proven that he is one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I will definitely say that. I don't know that he's a starter. I wouldn't want him as the Colts starter, but absolutely as a backup quarterback, he can come in and has proven that he can win some games for you. But he will definitely get paid. The only reason I don't know if it'll be with the Colts because just like every other team, they've got 5 or 6, 7 guys that they need to sign.
Yeah.
And so is there enough money? Which as a Colts fan, they're very frugal. They have like $80 million under the cap, and they have been for the past 7 years. And so, you're probably biased to this, but
despite them with the loss, you talk about a team that has caught lightning in a bottle with the Texans. I mean, they're kind of one of the big stories of the NFL this year.
Great coaching hire, DeMeco Ryans. Obviously, he's got them playing winning football. CJ Stroud the AFC's loaded with young quarterbacks, and I think he's just the latest one. And that's what stinks about, as a Colts fan is I believe Anthony Richardson is just as good or better, but he plays 4 games and he's out for the year, whereas Stroud got the whole year. So now they're a year behind the Texans in developing their quarterback, but Stroud, he's the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least appears to be.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing is now people are questioning Jacksonville. Last year Trevor Lawrence was, he was one of the top 5. Whenever they're talking about the Mahomes and Burrow and those guys, Lawrence is getting mentioned, and now all of a sudden, they go 1-7 to finish the season or whatever it was.
Not a good look.
And so now is he the guy? So
yeah, looking at the playoff picture though, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold in the Super Wild Card weekend. I don't think, and I'm looking at it from my perspective, I don't think the NFC will have a lot of surprises. Although with Philly kind of sliding the way they have, it wouldn't shock me with Tampa Bay's defense to win at home. But Philly's got talent. Like they're not a terrible
but
team.
It's almost like there's something going on. And I've heard sports talk, here and there, whether they don't like Jalen Hurts, like the players, teammates don't like Jalen Hurts now, or they don't respect the coach, or something's going on.
You always hear that expression, have they lost the locker room type deal.
It seems like a chemistry issue. I don't know. But one interesting stat I saw, this is the first time in NFL history that all three teams located on Lake Erie made the playoffs. Detroit, Buffalo, and Cleveland are in the playoffs for the first time together in the NFL history.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive.
Well, and on the AFC side, I am not a betting man, but I'm probably placing all my stock in the AFC North. You got to go with your Delaware Blue Hen, Joe Flacco. Obviously, Baltimore is already, they've got the first round bye, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see a sweep where Cleveland wins in Houston, and
Pittsburgh
then
and Buffalo.
The Steelers, they, Mike Tomlin knows what it takes.
That's another 0 degrees win guts game.
Well, and Pittsburgh knows how to play in that, and Buffalo, they're obviously coming off a good win, but they haven't looked.
But the only thing about Buffalo is they didn't look good at all at the beginning of the season, and they've come on strong at the end, which is when you want to be playing your best football. So, you may be right. You may have 3 AFC North winners. I definitely think Cleveland. I definitely can see them winning. Who do they play the first game?
Cleveland plays Houston. The division winner.
I can see Cleveland going into Houston and winning.
Well, that's going to be tough, right? You got CJ Stroud, rookie of the year, and then top defense.
Cleveland's got the best defense in football, I believe, statistically.
And they got Joe Flacco.
I'm saying Delaware Blue Hen.
Joe Flacco.
He's been to a Super Bowl. So
the Baltimore people miss Flacco, which if they win, if the Browns win, and then the 2 seed wins, which is Buffalo, Cleveland will go to Baltimore, and that's a weird deal. That's kind of like Stafford going to Detroit this weekend. That's an odd one too, but it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see it play out. I love playoff football, and we didn't talk about the Chiefs much, but we'll see what they reel in.
All I'll say is I will be shocked if they don't. I'm not saying easy. Nothing's easy in the NFL, but I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of trouble with Miami on Saturday.
They've got the offensive firepower. They've got Tyreek Hill. But you're talking about a warm weather team in the playoffs in KC
that hasn't beaten a good team all year,
and they haven't. And that game was weird that they played overseas in Germany. But Kansas City's got that upper hand. That's always in the back of your head when you've lost that team earlier in the season. So we'll see. I won't lie. I'm hoping for a Buffalo loss, a KC win, and a Browns win. Cleveland coming to Arrowhead. That would be a heck of a game, and I would like to go to that one because obviously my fiance, her family's from Cleveland. Or Ohio, not Cleveland, but Ohio, and they would be thrilled to go see that game. But we'll keep it moving. That's beside the point. National championship for NCAA football on Monday night. I don't know what your takeaways were for any of those people out there that probably don't care. My biggest takeaway was that we didn't hear anything from the NCAA football video game that's supposed to release this year, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Throwing all the random comments
First of all, it is not the college football playoff. It is the college football invitational because they invited teams they wanted there and snubbed the team that deserved to be there.
After that Georgia loss, though, I didn't think you'd say anything.
Oh, I'll say whatever because that was not the same team. I mean, they had everybody. That's not the same team that played football this year.
Let me ask you this: take Alabama out of the equation because they're the 4 seed. If either Georgia or Florida State, one of those 2 teams is in the 4 spot, who's winning that bracket?
Well, Georgia's beaten Michigan, and I think but based on what I saw against in the semifinals, Florida State could have beaten any of those teams.
Okay,
with their backup quarterback,
really,
because their defense was playing that well.
Biased opinion right there.
I know. I'm just saying that everybody wants to say 63-3. That proves nothing. That proves absolutely that they had 19, and everybody will say, well, Georgia had 19 players out too. There's a difference. Florida State's. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you.
That's fine.
I was singing Florida State's praises like, man, they should be mad. They should be mad.
They should be mad.
Go prove it. You know what I mean? And then It's tough.
They were told back in the beginning of December, after they won an undefeated season, won a conference championship, they were told that none of that matters. And so their best players opted not to play, because why would they put themselves in harm's way for an exhibition?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I understand that Georgia also had a whole bunch of people transfer and opt out. That the difference is Georgia's been recruiting top 5 classes for the last 6 years, and they've got 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. Florida State's not there yet, but they could compete with their starters, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when their starters leave, the result you get is 63-3 because they could have carried less. So
the thing about it too.
So the point is I think it's a very disingenuous argument for anyone to say that, well, because they lost 63-3, that proves anything. That proves nothing.
Okay.
Not the same team.
The thing ultimately for me is the ugly giant that is the NCAA does not care whatsoever.
What was disappointing on Monday evening in the Invitational, and I did not pay it. It was on while I was working. I worked late and I just had it on.
Yeah.
Is not one word was mentioned the entire time that I was watching, and from what I can read afterwards, not at all about the cheating at Michigan, about the fact that their coach missed half the season because he was suspended for 2 separate cheating allegations.
You think they could vacate the win? You think they might vacate the national championship?
I mean, they've shown in the past that they will. I mean, like Louisville basketball, I saw them with my own eyes win the 2013 national championship in basketball, but the NCAA vacated it. So
the NCAA.
So that was just disappointing. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, there was nobody was beating Michigan Monday night. That defense,
stellar.
That play, it was unreal.
Stellar.
And I had watched Washington play. I watched the semifinal game. I watched them play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. And I saw part of a game earlier in the year, and Michael Penix Jr., who probably should have won the Heisman,
stud.
He was unbelievable in those. I mean, he was the best passer I saw all year.
Yeah,
he couldn't hit
they
one.
Had him
fell
off
off a boat.
They had him
Monday
off.
Night.
Really,
he was just out of sync.
Yeah. So, in terms of the teams that got in, the teams that didn't, how it shapes up, Michigan winning it, if it's going to be vacated, the NCAA loves all of it.
Yeah,
they really do, because they're like, well, it just shows we need to go to 12 teams, and it just shows, blah blah blah.
Well, and the whole. We got the 4 best teams. No, you didn't. Georgia is
one of the best teams. Yeah,
that's the best team in football, period. And if you're going to take the 4 best teams, then why would we play a season? I mean, everybody knows Georgia's one of the 4 best teams, so let's just put them in the 4-team playoff at the beginning of the year. Why do we play the games?
Yeah.
Why are the games being played? Why is there any incentive whatsoever to go schedule LSU out of conference or Florida out of conference if you got teams playing Poop State over here and directional U and benefiting from it?
Yeah.
You're telling me that Alabama, which required a miracle 4th and 31 completion the week before they beat Georgia?
Yeah.
No.
They should have lost that game. Absolutely. That's one thing I'm going to hate about. I'm an OU fan, for those who don't know. If you listen, you're aware of that. That's one thing I'm going to hate about going to the SEC is I hate how they schedule those mid-season, even early season games against
the Citadel
FCS schools and this and that. Like, hey, I get it, a tune-up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then you go play that team week 11, and I'm like, no. This is championship November. This is when you're supposed to be hitting your stride, not putting up 75 on, the School of the Blind.
Not
yeah, I mean,
not
it's
Northeast Oklahoma State University.
That will always, that's always going to rub me the wrong way going forward. But we'll get to the question of the day real quick. We've got a couple minutes here left for our first episode of season 3. Week 18. Huge blowout win for the New Orleans Saints. They have a interception by the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, who takes it down to the 1-yard line. I guess sportsmanship tells you to take a knee and run out the clock, even though Tyrann Mathieu. Not
just sportsmanship, your coach also tells you.
That's true too. That's true too. So what do you make of it real quick? What do you think Winston was in the wrong?
Going into the game, New Orleans and Atlanta are playing for a playoff spot, potentially. Of course, you mentioned New Orleans is blowing them out 41-17, something. The game's over. Ball's at the 1-yard line. Last play of the game, they're in victory formation. So they're not lined up in the I or pistol. They're lined up victory formation.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what was sent in from the sidelines. And then Jameis Winston, who's the backup quarterback, takes the snap, turns, hands it to the fullback. Fullback scores. And obviously Atlanta put up no fight on that play.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Atlanta's coach, who got fired the next day, was absolutely shall we say, incensed. I think there was a few words we can't repeat, but
that was baloney.
It was obvious when I saw it, and this is before I saw the post game. Which Jameis Winston, I mean, he's Jameis. He's Jameis.
Character. He's a character.
He before I even knew that, it looked like obviously the coach was ticked.
Yeah,
and it looked like New Orleans coach was not caught off guard, but he looked like he was
stunned.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah,
and
like,
so
what just happened?
So anyway, so then you find out in the post game that Jameis Winston, which going back to he played at Florida State, of course, and he just says Jameis things.
Old crab leg Winston.
But he is, he just got his own style, and so
we're gonna eat that dub.
So he basically the team made a decision in the huddle to, and I don't know, I've seen differing reports on whether the guy that scored, if he scored, he got an incentive. And
no. This was Jamal Williams who set the record for the Lions last year for single season rushing touchdowns.
Okay,
and then he goes to New Orleans this year and sits behind Kamara.
Okay,
didn't score. That was his only touchdown all year.
Okay,
they wanted to get him a TD on the season as the backup.
Okay, I didn't know. I saw something about whether he got an incentive, but regardless, he scores, and it was a team decision, is what Jameis said. And so I guess the ultimate question is sportsmanship. What's the? And I've heard different. I've heard some people say, and I disagree with it, that well, if you don't like it, stop them. I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you're not in the victory formation in that scenario, if you're in victory formation, you're indicating to the other team, we are not going to. This is there's the whole before halftime victory formation or what, or we're going to take a knee and go to the locker room and then they fake spike and throw the touchdown.
That's
different
one thing.
Scenario.
Yeah.
This is the end of the game.
Game is over.
Game's over. We're going to take a knee. And so that's where I differ on the, well, if you don't like it, stop them. So,
yeah, and I agree to that in some regard. It's the NFL. These are pros. If you're running up the score per se, get better.
Yeah.
Atlanta is a playoff hopeful team there in the last week of the season. Show up.
Well, and it's on the New Orleans side, it almost, you wonder whether that coach has lost the locker room. If you've got the entire offense is out there basically saying, well, we don't care what he says. We're going to make a team decision.
Yeah, that's rough. And that's for me. And I get the victory formation conversation a little bit. For me, that's where you cross the line. If my boss is telling me to do something, that's what I'm going to do. When your head coach calls a play, says we're going to run victory formation, before I even go to the huddle, if I'm Jameis, I'm going to say, man, coach, let's get Jamal a touchdown here. You can explain that to the head
coach would say, absolutely not. That's
true
sportsmanship.
True. But don't take that out of his hands, because that's his job. His responsibility is to call the plays.
Did you see the interview? I think it was maybe Monday or something, the day after interview. So you had it was a team decision the day after the game.
Okay.
The next day, I guess there was a reporter asking him about it again, Jameis. And it was funny because they were having a respectful conversation back and forth. And it was respectful. And Jameis is like, so why do you think it was wrong? And so he tells him, well, I think it was wrong. It was unsportsman, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I disagree with you. I'm trying to show you it was just it's classic Jameis Winston. But my bottom line is, in my opinion, if you're in the victory formation in that scenario, you are signaling to the other team, we're done.
We're not going hard this play.
We've obviously won the game. That's why it's called victory formation and not we're going to score again formation. I guess technically they were lined up in the whatever the Eagles,
the tush push formation, kind of
brotherly, whatever that is. That's got. I guess technically that looks like a victory formation.
Speculation, but anyway, good discussion right there. It's who's to say, right? Everybody's going to have a differing opinion. We've come to the end of our time. We're excited. Season 3. We're going to be here. New episodes every Wednesday. Be sure to follow us on socials. Stay up to date with everything from the podcast to the Hall of Fame and beyond. We're coming out with new episodes on iTunes, Spotify. You can even watch us on YouTube. If you like what we do, feel free to drop a review, drop a rating. And we really greatly appreciate that. We appreciate feedback, and we hope that
if you are own a business out there and want to sponsor where the game lives on,
or advertise with where the game lives on,
more than happy to do a live read each week of your business, and as only we can. So without a doubt, we are here at the end though. We will see you next time. Okay.
Byron, do you have anything for our people?
Nope. Just excited about the upcoming year. Thanks for listening.
Not my best outro there, but we'll get a little rusty. We'll get back into the swing of it.
It is what it is.
All right. We'll see you next time on another episode.
We need
of
to go
Where
to the
Game.
victory formation at the end. So.
That's what we need to do. We'll see you on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.